the coolest story of Hansel and Gretel. Once upon a time, there lived a brother and sister called Hansel and Gretel. They were very poor and lived in a small cabin near the woods, where they would play with a friendly bear on a scooter. Their dad was a woodcutter, and sadly their mother had passed away. But one day the dad met a new woman and got married again, but she turned out to be very mean and did not like Hansel and Gretel. She would always put them in timeout and did not want to give them much food. She told the dad that she wanted them to go into the woods and be left out there. The dad was very sad and would say no, but the stepmother would not listen. Hansel and Gretel overheard this conversation, and came up with a plan. Hansel took some Lego. He put them in his pockets, and the next day, their stepmother took the children deep into the woods, and left them there alone. Hansel had been very clever, as he had dropped the Lego on the ground so they would not be lost. The children followed the Lego trail, and they made it back home. Their dad was happy to see them, but their stepmother was very angry, and secretly decided that she would have to try the wicked plan again. The following day, the stepmother took the children back into the woods when their dad was asleep, but Hansel had hidden a loaf of bread inside his pockets, and dropped breadcrumbs on the ground so they could follow it back home later. But this time, a hungry hippo with a mustache would eat up all the breadcrumbs along the way. Once Hansel and Gretel were left alone, they realized they did not have a trail to follow home. Feeling sad and scared, they cuddled together as it started to get dark and cold outside. Hansel decided he had to look after his little sister, and so took her hand and led her through the woods. They walked and walked until they saw a house, but this house was not ordinary. It was wonderful, as it was made of candy and all things delicious. The children could not believe their eyes, and ran to the house feeling hungry and excited to start eating. Suddenly, Hansel and Gretel heard the door of the candy house open, and an old woman came outside. She waved at the children and told them to come in, where she had lots more food and warm comfy beds. But when they went into the house, they realized the old woman was really a wicked witch, who ate children. The witch threw Hansel into a cage and gave him lots of sugary food. Her plan was to make him fat so that she could eat him later, but because she was blind, she would feel his finger every day to see if he was getting fatter. Hansel was very clever and did not eat all the food, and when the witch would feel his finger, he would secretly hold out a stick. "You're still too thin," the witch would cry, feeling annoyed. Soon the witch had had enough. She did not want to wait for Hansel to get fat anymore, and decided to eat him now. But as she went to light the oven, Gretel would creep up behind and push the witch into the hot fire, where she would disappear forever. Gretel opened Hansel's cage to free him, and the children would find a treasure chest with jewels inside the witch's house. They took the treasure and walked back through the woods, where they saw their friend Bear riding his scooter, who helped them find their way back home. Their dad, who had been very sad that his children were gone, was very happy to see them again. He was very angry with what their stepmother had done and had sent her away to space. With the treasure the children had found, they would buy a nice cozy home, with lots of fun toys, where Hansel and Gretel and their dad all lived, happily, ever after.